the boys will be able to choose between environmental science or a new badge called sustainability, which we don't even really have what the requirements will be for that new badge, but that will be something coming up. And then they will be making cooking an Eagle required badge effective January 2014. So one of the badges that they now take as an elective will be replaced with the cooking badge. So more to come on that. Obviously, that's not here at the moment. Okay. The whole idea about merit badge counselors is really, again, some of the methods that we saw on the previous slide, right? Get them to work with adults and different adults than they normally see in their families, in their units. All right. Looking at specialists, people that are well-versed in the different topics through the merit badge program. They look at them as role models as mentors. They meet leaders and experts. Many of the badges have them going out and talking to attorneys and different people in the political arena. And so they get a chance to sit down and speak to folks they normally don't get a chance to. And of course, the whole idea here is to enhance their self-confidence, to get on the phone and call someone that they've never talked to in the past, and then meet with them and go through the badge. It adds a lot to their confidence going through that process. So a counselor is all the things here, right? Primarily, we're looking for counselors to be mentors and coaches to help the boys learn the material. In many cases, this may be something that they are not familiar with, so they're coming in cold, so to speak. But in the end, through this process, they will learn. You will ensure that they complete the requirements, and then they get recognized for completing the badge within their units. One of the important things that all of you as counselors have to remember is that you are the ones that make sure that we keep to the standards. So what the merit badge books lay out the requirements, there are to be no changes in those requirements. You cannot add anything, you cannot remove anything. When something says demonstrate, they need to demonstrate. Some of the work can be done outside of you meeting with the boys. They can do things at home, but more importantly is we want to make sure that all the requirements as listed in the book are kept that way. Something introduced throughout the last bunch of years with the whole youth protection situation is the buddy system, and there are no exceptions to that, and we will be covering that a little bit later. Okay, so your role really is to sit down with them, plan out how they're going to complete the requirements, make suggestions to them. If it's not an area that they're overly familiar with, they may be just learning about this particular area of concentration, right? To evaluate their performance in the completion of the requirements, making sure that, again, they are completing the requirements as stated in the book, and to help coach them and be a friend to them. In many cases, again, they're meeting you for the first time, and so they're getting familiar with you and you with them, and again, it's a growth experience for them. As far as requirements are concerned, this is something that, not knowing all of those folks online, how long you've been a merit badge counselor, National lays out a registration process and one where we as a council are supposed to be re-registering all of you on an annual basis. Another important piece of this is some of you may be familiar with something called ScoutNet. ScoutNet is the official national registration system. You are not fully recognized as a registered scouter or merit badge counselor unless you're in that database, and you get entered in there through the registration process to become a counselor. This fall we will be doing a re-registration, so all of you that are currently counselors will be receiving a request to recommit yourself for next year, and you will receive a notice in the mail. We don't really have this set up electronically right now. You'll just have to respond to that, and you'll be put back on the list for 2013. To kick off, in case any of you are listening to this webinar and you are not a merit badge counselor as of now, the rest of the requirements are here. 18 years of age or older, good moral character, being proficient in the subject matter for the badge that you would like to counsel, be able to work with the boys that are going to be basically ages 11 through 18, be approved by the Hudson Valley Council. The link that you see here is one from our website. So you can actually go to www.hudsonvalleyscouting.org. You'll go to the home page, and you will see on the left-hand side of the screen a list of menu choices. You can pick youth development. That will give you another menu choice to select merit badge counselors, and then there are several documents and pieces of information for you to review. That has the pertinent registration forms and information that that you need if you want to change badges that you counsel. You want to drop one, you want to add one, as well as registering for the first time. Training is available as well. There is training material on the national website. The link is here. In addition to that, all new counselors must have youth protection training. That's the YPT, and YPT can be taken online if you don't have it, and that is done through My Scouting, that portal. You will have to create a profile if you don't have one. Once you have one, you can go to myscouting.org, and you can go there and take various different training modules. Youth protection is good for a 2-year period and then has to be renewed. So a couple of youth protection concerns that we have here is for those of you who are unit leaders or involved in the Boy Scout program, you should be well familiar with this. Right? 2-deep leadership. There is to be no one-on-one contact, a single adult with a single youth. So there should always be 2 adults whenever possible, and the youth should not come there without a buddy. The buddy can be a parent, a friend, another scout, but they should come together. All right, and of course, respect of privacy, concerns, not discussing things with other folks about individual scouts. All adults, regardless of their registration status, must have the youth protection training, and as you take that training, it will discuss the policies that you should be adhering to, which really talks to point number 4 here about reporting any kind of child abuse if you observe that. But you will learn about that as you take that training. And here is the link for youth protection training, and also there's a publication called The Guide to Safe Scouting. which you can review as well. All right, so what's the process that the Scout follows? Basically, hopefully everyone's familiar with this, but we will cover it. Scout gets a blue card from his Scoutmaster, which basically outlines, which badge that they are going to work on, and the Scoutmaster signs off, and then at that point they provide information about the various counselors for that particular badge around the geographic area that the Scout lives. That information comes from various lists that are managed in our council by the district advancement teams. They usually have one adult that helps to manage that list. The Scout will then contact you, mostly by phone, some by email, and at that point you work with the Scout to set appointments to sit down and discuss the badge, how you would like to see the work done, either with you, offline, whatever the case may be. All right, and again, the Scout is responsible to make sure there is a second person when they come to the meeting. All right, you then plan out a schedule as to how the Scout will work out the requirements. Some of the things can be written, others have to be demonstrated. So again, going by the material in the merit badge pamphlet as to exactly how those requirements need to be completed. In many cases, some boys, just as they do in school, will learn faster than others, some slower than others. Some are visual learners. They do better when things are explained to them. So you'll have to figure that out as you work with each of the boys. So they will work at their own rate of progress, and there is really no time element. They could take forever, to do the badge as long as they don't go over the age of 18. We will see that in another slide. All right. What's important here is that once you are satisfied that the Scout has completed all of the requirements, you will then sign that blue card. The blue card is a 3-sectioned document, and you will tear off one of those sections and keep it for your records. The other 2 get given back to the Scout, which he brings to his unit leader. All right. At this time, the way the national guidelines play out is that you are, as counselors, once your signature goes on that form, the Scout is done. Scoutmasters cannot rescind any badges, any requirements. If they have any concerns, they will call you. But for the most part, once you sign off, they are done. Just some suggestions on techniques. Again, the Scouts may be beginners and not really understand the material. So helping to spend some time going over the requirements as you see them, helping them to learn the material, not just the material in the book, but also you could provide them with other places to obtain material, library, internet, different places that they can, again, learn the material. And as you meet with them and go over the requirements, they don't need to complete all the requirements in the first meeting or the second meeting. They can certainly do a couple of requirements during each meeting, prepare for the next one, come back to you, whatever it takes, just helping them to stay on track. Keep it conversational, keep it friendly. It's not a final exam where if they fail that they can't get the badge. Right? It's something that if we need to work with the boys a little bit more, They go home and practice a little bit more, or do something, write a little bit more detail if they had to write something and there's just not enough meat there. They can go back and rework it and bring it back to you. Then you can retest them for as many times as it takes until they complete all the requirements. So here are just a couple of points to hone in on some of the things we've been discussing. What do you do when a scout's parents call you on the phone to set up the appointment? Certainly at this point, again, we're trying to build up the confidence of the boy to call an adult that he may not know. So the response here, it's suggested that you just explain to the parents that that you're willing to work with the scout, but he needs to call and talk with you directly and to set up the appropriate time and place. Second point, a boy shows up alone to an appointment. Unfortunately, in this particular case, the best case scenario here is that you just ask him to reschedule. Third point, obvious the scout has done only half the requirements. Again, we need to make sure that the requirements are met as in the book, no more, no less. So if they have only done half the requirement, you can point it out that they didn't really complete it. Explain to them what's missing and how they might go about completing the other part of it. And give them the opportunity to go off and complete it and come back to you another time and to finish that particular requirement. The last item, scout shows up with a blue card already half filled in by another merit badge counselor. There is something called a partial. For those of you who may not have seen this before, if a boy goes to, as an example, this is what happens a lot of times. They'll go to summer camp. They'll complete only some of the requirements. And the counselor there takes the card, and there's a portion of the card that's really set up for documenting the requirements by number, 1 through 10 as an example. And they will fill out which ones the boy has completed. The card will not be fully signed by them because the badge is not completed yet. So when you receive this, at this point you have to look over and see exactly what's been done, and then you can take it from there to have the boy finish the other requirements. There's nothing wrong with asking them to show you what other work has been already done. There should be something there. To make sure you're comfortable with that. And then you would work with them to complete the remaining requirements. And at that point, you would be able to sign off the blue card as it's complete. There are some situations where some scouts will go from one counselor to another. It's not typical, especially working currently on a badge. And they typically don't switch counselors. I suppose it could happen, but again, whatever's documented on that blue card, whatever is signed by the other counselor, you have to take that as an approval that those particular requirements have been completed, and then you would go forward with whatever else needs to be done to complete the badge. Just a couple of facts here. Merit badge counselor can counsel any scout from any unit. In the Hudson Valley Council, what we're suggesting here is that if you get a scout from out of council, and as long as you are registered with this council, you can counsel any scout from any troop within the Hudson Valley Council. If you are not part of Hudson Valley Council, and let's say you are registered as a unit leader with Westchester Putnam, and you would like to counsel scouts from our council, that's not a problem. All it is really registering with Hudson Valley Council, so we have you on record as being an approved counselor. You must be approved for each merit badge that you would like to counsel. So for those of you who would like to add a badge, we have a form that needs to be filled out and explains what badges you would like to work on. And it also asks you to provide information about why you feel that you are qualified to counsel that particular badge. Once that form is completed, it can be scanned and emailed, or it can be faxed, or it could be put into the regular postal mail and sent to the council office. That's really all that it takes. Scouts are encouraged to work with multiple counselors. There are, at least for Eagle today, 21 merit badges required. I know boys that have done 40, 50, 60 merit badges. A lot of those are at summer camp, but we certainly look for the boys to work with multiple counselors across their district and across the council. As a counselor, you can, when you register as a counselor, you can request that you work only with your specific troop if you are registered as a troop leader. You still have to be approved. So let's say you are an assistant scoutmaster in a troop and would like to be a merit badge counselor. You fill out the appropriate forms, and you will be approved as such. Obviously, at that point, you already have your youth protection training and you have other training already completed. But we as a council would prefer counselors do not put I will work only with my unit. It sort of restricts the boys from the surrounding towns to be able to come and work with you as a counselor. Some badges we have a lot of counselors for, and other badges we may only have 1 or 2 counselors within an entire district. That's one of the main reasons for preferring not to have restrictions. Scoutmasters are not automatically counselors. This was something that may have happened in the past, but current national rules say that scoutmasters who want to counsel badges like cooking and camping, pioneering, things along those lines, must register as a counselor. Next point is an important one because we see this at Camp Rees and other like merit badge colleges or merit badge days. Right? Group instruction is allowed, individual completion is required. This becomes a little bit difficult when you're doing things in a group setting. The guidelines that National is laying out here is that we want to make sure that someone that's sitting in the back of the room during group instruction never raises his hand, never answers any questions, doesn't join in, gets signed off for a merit badge just because he was sitting there. Okay, so again, instruction in a group is fine. There's really no limit to the size. That's really something that you would have to decide what you're comfortable with. But they must show individually that they know the material and they can complete the requirements. Whether it be that particular day or another day, they must show that they have completed it. And again, the time constraint, somebody could work on a badge for 3 years if they really wanted to. The only limit is that they can no longer earn any advancement after their 18th birthday. Staying up to date, there's a lot of information that's out there for you. Requirements on badges do change. They don't always republish the books, but there is one book that gets published annually, and it's called the Boy Scout Requirements. A picture of it is here. So that's something that you should stay up to speed on. There is also a lot of websites, meritbadge.org, USScouts.org is another one, where you can find a lot of information about merit badge requirements. Some sites will actually have a workbook that the boys can go and obtain the workbook, print it out, and then they can use that as they go through the requirements. If they need to, let's say, write an explanation for something, it gives them a blank on one of the pages for them to go in and handwrite it or type it. So a lot of useful material out there. But when the Boy Scout Requirements is published each year, you should check to make sure that none of the requirements for the merit badges that you are counseling have changed. And if so, you do need to adhere to the new requirements for any scout that you're working with that has not completed it. Will have to go by the new requirements. So just as a summary, we went through quickly the aims and methods of scouting, understanding the merit badge process and what we're trying to accomplish with advancement, the role of the merit badge counselor, some of the duties and responsibilities, youth protection, buddy system. We make no changes to the requirements. We do them as stated in the book. Make sure that all of you are properly registered, and all of these things put together will hopefully make a success between the scout and yourself for having them complete the work. Some more resources, tons of application forms, again on the Hudson Valley Council website. We do have a section for the forms that you need to add or remove a badge or to be registered. If you want to stop being a merit badge counselor, that's probably just a phone call to the council office and it'll get to the right place. So here's a bunch of different things that is available out there, resources that the boys typically use, that's certainly available to all of you as counselors. A lot of different materials. Some of these are available at retail scout places around the council, certainly the Scout Shop up in Newburgh, and other scout shops that are around. If you're in the western Rockland, as an example, it borders New Jersey, there is a Scout Service Center in Oakland. There's one in Westchester, so there are other options for you to pick up these materials. And again, a lot of things on the internet that are available. I show that this may be a little bit hard for some of you to see, but I just wanted to call attention to some merit badges have requirements that pre-approval must be given. So the scout, unless they have a partial signed off on the blue card, they need to be discussing with you certain requirements so you come to an agreement on how they're going to approach it and exactly what they're going to do before they do it. And this is just a list of the current merit badges that may have one or more requirements that need to be discussed with you before they do the work. So again, all of that's listed in the merit badge book themselves as the requirements. You can certainly see that. So I thought I'd throw out a little quiz at you now just to go through some of the points we've discussed. Merit badge counselor may be a counselor for an unlimited number of badges. Is that true or false? Actually, for Hudson Valley Council, the answer is false. Each council has the ability to govern within their council things as this. So since the council was formed back in the mid-90s, a decision was made at that point that each individual counselor, we will typically keep the restriction to 7 badges, and out of the 7, a maximum of 4 from the EGLE required list. The main reason for that is, as I mentioned earlier, we want the boys to experience working with different adults, not go to one person to complete all of their merit badges. So for the most part, some of you may have been contacted when trying to add a badge by your district advancement committee, talking about, well, you're over the limit. Which ones do you want to keep? Which ones do you want to drop? So again, this is something that we've been doing as a standard here in our council. All right. A merit badge counselor may not coach his son or a close relative unless he's part of a group of scouts all working on the same merit badge. This question comes up a lot, and according to national standards, the answer is this is false. Right. Approved counselors may work with and pass any member, including their own son. So that is what national says. Obviously, we prefer that not to happen. Again, we like the boys to learn from working with other adults. But again, depending upon the number of counselors for a specific badge within their district or within their towns, it may not be possible to do that. So, we suggest that it's done on a limited basis, but certainly there is nothing that says that they cannot work with their own son. All right, a merit badge counselor who works only with a single unit needs to be has to have the unit committee's approval before being approved by the scout executive. So again, this talks a little bit about the registration process for being a counselor. The answer to this is false. The unit has nothing to do with the registration process or approval of people being merit badge counselors. You can be involved in a unit, but many of our counselors are standalone counselors. They are not registered as any other involvement in units or districts. All right. The key here is that all counselors must be approved by the Council Advancement Committee, and that's the first stop in the paperwork process. It comes into the office. Records are checked, approvals are given, and then the forms are passed to the district advancement committees, where at that point they will review what badges that you're asking to add. They will look at your reasoning for why you feel you are qualified to counsel that particular badge. And if all of that works out, then you will be approved at that point. For those that are possibly on the call tonight as potential merit badge counselors, anytime that you request to be a counselor, add a badge, remove a badge, it is the responsibility of the District Advancement Committee to contact you either by phone or email and let you know that your paperwork is complete. And if there was any reason for denial, they will explain that, but in most cases that is not something that happens very often. A person serving as a merit badge counselor must be registered as a counselor with the Boy Scouts of America, and that is certainly a true statement. Again, for those of you who are registered as committee, as assistant scoutmasters, as a commissioner, on a district committee, council committee, you must be registered as a merit badge counselor in order to counsel the boys. If you are not registered as such, you need to get registered. And this includes scoutmasters, as we mentioned earlier. The forms are on the council website. If you are already registered as an adult leader or as an adult tied to a unit or a district, the forms are a little less in detail because you are already registered with Hudson Valley Council. So all that we're really doing is adding the position code of a merit badge counselor. If you are not registered with Hudson Valley Council, then the paperwork is a little bit extra because you are filling out information about yourself for the first time. And as probably most of you know, we have a process by which all adult volunteers get a background check. So if you're not registered with the council, that process will happen before you're approved to be a counselor. A Scout may earn no more than 5 merit badges from the same merit badge counselor. That answer is false. So depending upon how many badges you happen to counsel, you know, a boy could certainly come and work with you on all of those that you're approved to be a counselor for. Again, it goes back to the aims and methods of adult association, where we really like the Scouts to get out and work with multiple adults. That's really what we're trying to accomplish through this program. Once a Scouter is approved as a merit badge counselor, he or she is approved for life and never has to be reapproved. That is false. As I mentioned earlier, counselors are approved for a 12-month period only. And if you don't re-register, then you should not be working with any of the boys. We will be doing a re-registration this fall. It'll probably kick off next month. So all of you who are currently registered as a merit badge counselor, you will get something in the mail with instructions as to how to re-up for next year. There is no charge for it. There's not a lot of paperwork with it unless you want to add or drop a badge. You'll simply be having to let us know that you do want to stay on the list. We're going to probably give everyone 60 days to respond, and if you don't, your name will be dropped. Now, for those on the call tonight, if you do not receive a letter in the mail, then potentially we have the situation where the district, one of the 4 districts in Hudson Valley Council has you on the list, but the ScoutNet, the national registration system, does not have you there. Those two must match, and this is not a simple task for, we probably have well over 1,000 people in our council that council badges. So if you do not receive anything before the end of the year, asking if you want to re-up for 2013, my suggestion would be to go to our council website, grab the forms, download them, fill them out, and send them into the office. That way you definitely, we will make sure that we have the right paperwork. A scout must complete all the requirements for a merit badge within 12 months or he has to start over. That is also false. All right. Again, there's no time limit as long as all of the requirements are completed before his 18th birthday. All right. There are no advancement opportunities once the scout turns 18. Merit badge counselor may require the scout to work beyond the specific requirements of the merit badge so you can discover more about the subject matter and continue learning about it. This is false. Again, no additions or deletions are permitted. They must do exactly what is in the book. Certainly, there are requirements that give the scout choices. They may say do 2 out of the following 6. They can pick any of those 2 that they would like to do. But beyond that, we cannot change any of the requirements. Certainly as a counselor, you may give them additional information, places, books to read, library, internet, other places that they may be interested in gathering more knowledge about the subject matter. But certainly, that cannot be a part of the requirements for signing off on the particular badge. Due to the BSA policies related to youth protection and Too Deep leadership, a merit badge counselor must have another adult present during all merit badge counselor sessions. Okay, there is a buddy system, so the answer to this is false. There has to be a third person, but it could be scout parent, could be scout buddy, it could be another adult. But again, there can be no one-on-one contact. That's the big issue here. If the weather, locale, or some other condition makes meeting all of the conditions of the badge requirements impractical, the counselor may substitute requirements for those stated in the badge. Again, we just talked about this. The answer is false. Again, no additions or deletions are permitted. Merit badge counselors must be at least 18 years of age. That is true. That was one of the requirements we covered earlier. If the requirements for a merit badge differ between the merit badge pamphlet and the current edition of the Boy Scout requirements, the requirements of the Scout requirements book supersede all others. That is true. The Boy Scout requirements book is published annually. They will make any changes that are necessary. The difference in that book, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, the Boy Scout requirement book is a summary of each of the badges. So if, as an example, there are 10 requirements for a particular badge, those 10 requirements will be listed in the book. But there will be no other material listed. There will be no, it's really not used as a learning tool. It's simply documentation on what the requirements are. So boys that are interested, if they're not quite sure whether they want to do a badge or not, they can look at this book and they can see what the requirements that they would be subjected to for that particular badge. This is the book that does get changed. The merit badge books themselves, right, are supposed to not only have the requirements, but also provide background material and information to help the scout learn about the requirements. But again, those books, I've seen books that are 10, 12, 15 years old. So if a scout comes to you with one of those books, more probable than not that that it's out of date. Certainly a suggestion to you as counselors that you check the requirements, either using the Scout requirements book or checking the merit badge requirements that are listed on some of those websites that I mentioned earlier, meritbadge.org. That will also show you what the requirements are. And what's nice about that site is it will also tell you when the requirements were changed. You should have yourself a copy of the actual merit badge pamphlet. You can get them again at the Scout shop or places that sell scouting supplies. You know, again, make sure that you have the latest, if at all possible, to make sure that you are signing off on the right requirements. So that basically wraps up the presentation material. Chris, have you, I guess, been looking at some of the questions coming in? Maybe we could go through some of those for those that were asking questions online.
Sure. Actually, Jason's on with us as well. Jason, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Oh, great. Okay. Just so everybody knows, Jason Dugan is the Senior Development Officer for the Council, but he is also my staff advisor for the Council Advancement Committee. Okay, so let's take a look at the questions that may have come in.
Yep. First one that came in, Don, is after sending in registration form for Merit Badge Counselor, how do we learn they're approved, and can we begin counseling on the topic as long as registration is sent in? I think you've answered that one a couple times.
Yeah, hopefully, just to quickly recap, you should be getting a phone call or an email that's confirming your registration. It really should not take any more than 2 months. If someone is questioning whether or not they've been put on the list and you've never received a phone call, feel free to do one of two things. Either one, you can call the council office, or you could speak to your advancement committee at the district level. The list today is actually managed day to day by the district advancement teams. On our website, at the council website under youth development, we have contact information for who those folks are. If none of that works, my contact information is on there as well as the advancement chair for the council. Feel free to send me an email, and I will make sure that I get back to you. Okay, Jason.
All right, next question is, as regards to the buddy system, what is the point if there is a requirement of 2 deep leadership as far as youth protection is concerned? Is the purpose unrelated to youth protection? And my answer to that question is going to be it is related directly to youth protection, and it's always to make sure that it's not just one youth, even if it is 2 adults. And I know that happens from time to time driving, but it's just another added layer.
Yep.
All right. Let me pull up the next one. All right. Sorry for the delay. Trying to get through them.
I see one on the screen. They probably scrolled off my screen. I do see one about counseling your own son. I think I covered that earlier, but again, it's certainly permitted by national guidelines. It's just, it's always been my suggestion that if there is another counselor in close proximity, that they actually use the other counselor.
Yep. All right. The next question that came up is, will this be available as a copy? Will this be available as a PowerPoint presentation? I don't know if Chris is still on the phone. I think we're recording this and we'll post it to YouTube in the morning.
Okay. If somebody would like a copy of the deck, I can certainly look at doing that. We can probably put it on our Council Advancement Committee or Youth Development Committee as you see it on the website. We could post the deck there.
Okay. Who keeps the worksheets that they have completed, the Merit Badge Counselor or the Scout? The worksheets, I don't believe, worksheets are not required, so I'm going to leave that up to the counselor because that stuff never comes back to the council office or is not submitted with Eagle Scouts. Probably good to let the Scout have it so that he remembers what he did in terms of working on the Merit Badge. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Right, whatever working papers. I mean, you as counselors, if you create a Word document or a guideline sheet and hand them something to work with, typically, when they wrap up, they keep that. As long as you're satisfied that you have a record that, before you sign that blue card, that all the requirements have been fulfilled, you sign that blue card, you tear off the piece that belongs to the counselor, that's the official record.
Okay. Looks like I was up there twice. When one applies to be a counselor, how long does it take to become approved, and when is everyone notified?
Okay, so usually, as I mentioned earlier, it should be certainly no longer than 2 months. So just to review the process, you fill out the correct forms, which depending upon whether or not you're currently registered as another leader in the council, the packet of papers differs a little bit, but essentially it comes down to here's a adult registration form that says I want to be a Merit Badge Counselor. You fill in that information. That's a one-page document. There's a second one-page document that says here's my contact information, name, address, phone number, email. Here are the badges that I would like to add or remove. The same form can be used for that. And on that form it tells, why you feel that you are qualified to teach those specific badges. Those are the two important forms. They go to the council office where it's checked to see if you are a registered adult by the council registrar. If not, then they take the information you provided, they do the background check. Once that comes back positive, then the paperwork is now given to the District Advancement Committee. Right, their role is to look at the badges only portion of the forms, to look to see what badges that you're asking to council, why, and if they feel that it makes all of that stuff matches up, then you're put on the list. They are responsible for contacting you, as I mentioned earlier. So if you have not heard anything within a 2-month time frame, the problem I've seen in the past is the forms were not being sent in to the council office. they were being handed to someone at round table, or they were given, oh yeah, I'll drop it off for you. Right? If the paperwork does not get up to the council office, that is the starting point for all this paperwork. And these forms can be printed out, filled out by hand. They can, because they need to be signed. Right? They can be scanned and emailed back. The instructions to do that are on our website for Merit Badge counselors. And when it goes to Debbie Federici, who's the council registrar, she starts the process. And again, the names of the advancement chairs for each district in our council is also on my portion of the website. And those are the folks that should be contacting you. And again, if you have not heard in 2 months, feel free to call the office or get in contact with me and let me know. That has been a problem in the past, but we put this process together that I just described, and hopefully it's working better. Okay, any other questions?
All right, the next one is, okay, what happens if the Scoutmaster rejects the Merit Badge if he knows requirements weren't met?
Okay, by national standard, you as counselors are responsible to make sure that the boys have done the work before you sign that card. If a unit leader has any doubts, they certainly are free to call you on the phone and you can have a discussion. However, by the guidelines that National puts out today, Scoutmasters cannot retract that Merit Badge. I think that some questions come up about this area more in line with badges that the boys do at summer camp. Merit Badge counselors that are approved to do badges at summer camps are the responsibility of the council that owns the camp. If there are concerns about those types of things, you know, people who are signing off, how strict or lenient they are, and those types of things, those things need to be brought to the attention of the council that owns that camp. Hudson Valley Council today, right, does not have a full-fledged camp of its own. We have a joint venture at Camp Ranaqua with the Greater New York Council. But you know, a lot of boys go to camps in Connecticut, New Jersey, etc. And if there are issues there, that's really where they need to take those to.
All right, the next question is, it's actually more of a statement. Might want to check the follow-up process with HV Council. I've been a Merit Badge counselor for 6 years for 5 badges. I send the Merit Badge Council forms via email every year, but I've never received a call back. My response to that is it's actually the district personnel, unless I'm misunderstanding, correct, Don, who manage the Merit Badge list that should be making that call?
Right. So if somebody wants to add a badge, remove a badge, or they're a first-time counselor, so you know, if you've been on the list for 5 years, I would say that that's probably precedes. It certainly precedes my tenure as the council advancement chair, and many people involved in the process may not have been there then. And as far as the renewal is concerned, last year we made a decision that basically said that we were going to grandfather everybody in for 2012, and that we would do the re-registration process. and the re-registration process is simply just a postcard type of thing or a letter that each registered person will get. It's supposed to be done annually. We have not done it in the past annually, but we're trying to get that started this fall because it is supposed to be an annual requirement for us to recertify everyone. It's just the logistics and the systems that we need. We're trying to improve the way we handle it. So if that person still has a concern, again, my email contact information is on our council website under youth development. Feel free to email me and let's talk a little bit more offline. I'll be happy to address it.
Okay. This one again is kind of a statement. It is the Scout's discretion to finish under old or new regulations. They are allowed to finish under the old regulations.
Okay, so this is very similar to changing the rank requirements for Boy Scouts. And the way the standard works is that if a scout has not completed the badge by the effective date of the requirements, they're supposed to use the new requirements. If they don't want to be forced to do the new requirements, then they should finish before the effective date of the badge starts. Many times they'll do this, effective a given month. A lot of the changes are effective like January. I don't know how many changes they do during the year for particular merit badges. They come out with new ones, but as far as changing the requirements are concerned, I think they try to tie those all together and do them, make all the changes effective like January 1 of a given year. That's my understanding, and it's treated just like a rank is.
Okay. This is seems like it's a question from a Scoutmaster. If I am uncomfortable in that I am not satisfied with the proof the boy shows a half-filled blue card, is it the case occasionally with very young youth counselors at summer camp? May I insist that said proof of prior completed portions be completed or shown to my reasonable satisfaction? No, there should not be young counselors signing any merit badge card. They should be by 18-year-old staff and only at summer camp. So that's an issue for the camp. But my understanding is, and Don, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's signed, it's signed. We can't do anything about it, correct?
Yep. The national guidelines today say that if a blue card is signed by a counselor, then that portion of it is completed. Now, as I was stating earlier, if a unit leader has concerns about that, you have every right to certainly contact the council that runs the camp to discuss that. And obviously, if it's a summer camp issue, it's something that's best done within a week or two of when the unit comes back from the camp. Raising an issue now for something that happened 4 months ago, it's going to be difficult really to deal with that. At this point, if you're questioning who signed it, again, they have to ante up. They have to come back to you with an explanation that because they're basically on the hook, right? It's very explicit in the policies, national policies, that summer camp merit badge counselors are the responsibility of the council that runs that camp. So again, you can have conversations with them to discuss your concerns, but because it's not a Hudson Valley Council camp directly, there's really not much that we can do about it. If you feel that it's really something blatant, feel free to pass me some details offline, and Jason and I will talk about it and see if there's something that we need to discuss, with the other council. Can't say that I can offer you much resolution to it, because once the card is signed, it's done. Now, I will say that in a recent poll being done by National, they were asking some specific questions from advancement committee members about whether or not that policy is a good one or it should be changed. But again, that's a survey that they're taking. They will be more than likely modifying the advancement policy guide again in 2013. But for right now, that blue card is signed. It's basically complete.
Okay. I sent in a form back in May and still haven't heard anything. Should I call council?
The answer is yes. Speak to Deborah Federici, the council registrar. Hopefully, if anyone has that type of an issue, that you have copies of the original forms. They can be, either refaxed or rescanned and emailed or whatever. And then she will let you know whether she's on the list. I don't have access to that list, so I really have no way of being able to answer that question, but she can.
And then it might be an issue of we send it to the district and they're not making the follow-up call.
Certainly possible, and we'll be able to, once Deb looks it up and we see whether or not you're in ScoutNet, then we can see what happened after that.
Okay. May a Merit Badge Council, generally speaking, require the boy to be in a Class A or else no meeting? Of course, the Merit Badge Counselor should also be in a Class A, right? You cannot require a scout to be in a Class A to do a Merit Badge unless it specifically states in the requirement of the Merit Badge that he be in a Class A.
Correct. Now,
which I
some
don't
counselors.
think there is.
Excuse me?
I do not think that's a requirement of any Merit Badge.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not aware of that. Some counselors like to see that. Certainly, this can be a discussion item when the scout calls you to make an appointment. You can't force it. You can ask it. Okay. Any other questions?
All right. Not to be a curmudgeon, but Merit Badges are not like ranks. My info is 7.0.4.3. What to do when requirements change in the VSA's Guide to Advancement Merit Badge Program. Merit Badge requirements do not change that often. They are in the process of rewriting books, and that's the only time I've seen them change unless there was a health and safety issue and they made a drastic change. Now, the question of how old a book is, if a scout is using a book from a troop's library and it has a black and white cover, there's a good chance that might be out of date.
Yep, because all the new ones have color covers. Yep. That's one of the nice things about the meritbadge.org site. You can look up a merit badge and it will tell you the last year that requirements were modified. So you can tie that back to what edition the pamphlet is in. That's one online way of checking versus the, but the official BSA documentation will be, in this particular case, what's enforced today is the 2012 Boy Scout Requirements Book. All right, when that gets superseded by the 2013 edition, whatever's in that book is basically the Bible.
All right. We used to tell our boys that it's putting their best foot forward and showing respect. I guess that's in response to the merit badge question. And I understand that, but BSA is very specific about the fact that you cannot add any requirements to any merit badge or rank advancement. If the boy feels that adamantly about it, that he's not going to wear his uniform, there's nothing we can do to make him wear that uniform. And I understand wanting to have him do it out of respect, but it's not a requirement, and we can't add anything to the requirements. Don, you have anything to add?
Nope. Nope. I know that some counselors want the boys to come in full uniform, and again, during that initial phone conversation, you can say, I expect you to come to the meeting in your full uniform, but if they don't show up, you can't, realistically, you can't ding them for it. Right? You can't make it a requirement that in order to do the badge, you have to come in uniform.
Right. Don, this one says that it's incorrect that a merit badge counselor must take a partial signed by another counselor. They should, but the reg says they don't have to. I don't know if that's the case.
Well, what's the qualifications of the person stating that? Are you an advancement person? Are you a district person, or what?
It doesn't because it doesn't give me that information, so I don't know.
Okay. The person that asked the question, if they can send you a comment in the question box or in the chat box.
All right. I have been out of scouting for some years, but recently contacted by a scout to work with him on a merit badge. I am happy to do so, but are there any changes in regulations I need to be aware of, i.e. youth protection and current requirements? I'll leave that one to you, Don.
Yeah, I mean that's most of the material that we covered in this session. So the answer is you as a counselor need to be registered with BSA as part of our council. You have to have youth protection training that's valid within the last 24 months, and you really need to review the requirements by getting a copy of the latest requirements book or the merit badge pamphlet specifically to make sure that what you're working with them is exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So we're making sure that the requirements that you're looking at are the ones in force, which are also on that meritbadge.org, and there are probably a couple of other websites around that do the same thing. But, it's just like everything else on the Internet. The National Bible is the, in this case, 2012 requirements book. And that is the Bible until 2013 gets issued. I'm not quite sure when that is. It's probably within the first month or two of the year.
All right. How do I know if I'm currently registered? Contact the council office. Covered that one.
Yep.
Again, same thing. How do we check if we're currently registered correctly? How do I check if I'm, how can I check to verify that I'm still a valid counselor? I wouldn't want to work with a scout who could have rejected the badge because I was no longer a recognized counselor. Don, do you want to?
Yeah, so if someone's unsure whether they're currently registered or not, the best way is to really call the council office, during, I guess it's, 8:30 to 4:30. Ask for the council registrar, and give her your pertinent information. She will look it up in the system and let you know whether or not you are registered. If you're not, then the packet of registration material is on the website. So you go to HudsonValleyScouting.org homepage, you go to Youth Development, then you go Merit Badge Counselors, and then just read the instructions that we have there. And there's two packets. One, if you are unregistered and not involved with a unit, as some other kind of registered adult. And then the second packet is if you are a registered adult in another capacity and just want to add being a Merit Badge Counselor, you fill out that packet. And that packet gets sent to the office. The instructions are on the website. Either fill it out, put it in an envelope and mail it. You can scan it and email it, or you can fax it. Anything that's legible, and it needs to be done that way because the application requires a signature. We don't have a way of doing electronic signatures right now.
Okay. Looks like question about not signing off again. We've covered that a couple times. Merit Badge Counselors, can I counsel my son? We answered that.
Yep.
And that looks like we're done.
Okay. So if there's anyone else, I guess there's about 25 or so folks still on the call. So this is last opportunity to ask a question. Otherwise, if something comes to mind after the session, again, I would say start with, if it's a registration question, start with the registrar. If it's policy or procedure types of questions, start with the district advancement chair for your particular district. Each Merit Badge Counselor should be within, in most cases, one of the 4 districts. We may have someone on the call that's not in one of those districts, but for the most part, look on the website. You'll see who the advancement chairman is, and you can contact them directly. They are responsible. Today, they are responsible for the list of who they believe is counseling, and they are also responsible for contacting you for anyone that is asked to be a counselor in 2011 or 2012. The process is they are supposed to be contacting you directly to let you know that you've been accepted or rejected, but that doesn't happen much. But everyone should be being contacted by them.
I think that's it, Don.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you all for those that are still on the call. Again, any questions you can send in after the fact via email, and we will address them. And we'll if the recording of this worked out well, we will be posting this with a link, and people can refer to it at a later time. Okay, thank you all for joining. We appreciate it, and be on the lookout for the re-registration material that you should be getting soon. Thanks very much.
Have a good night.